like self-preservation and, but it's not about loving oneself more than I love other people. I'm very loving and giving. I've helped people in my life when I can barely help myself. Is that going to change? Probably not. I want to have the love of Christ in me. I want to treat people appropriately, because if you've ever been wounded in the spirit or your feelings, you know how it feels. You don't want to become the people that did that to you, and it can happen unintentionally. So this is why I always say, like when the Lord touches you, it removes the stony heart. But even so, like I was presented with a scenario today, and I'm like, you can love people with all your heart and with all your soul, with everything that you got. And the Lord tells you, trust not thine own heart, it's deceitfully wicked, who can know it? Sometimes we let our emotions supersede our sound mind. That's why he tells us not to trust in our emotions sometimes. Now you can love someone like brotherly love, the Church of Philadelphia. I want what's best for everybody, if at all possible. My prayer life is so huge, it's unbelievable. I spend most of my time in prayer. I spend most of my time reading the Bible. I spend most of my time thinking about the kingdom of God. To where people, say that Jesus stuff is making you crazy, but I have the gift of prophecy and I know what the Lord reveals to me. So it's not about being crazy. It's being a watchman and wanting to warn people because you love people and you love where they might end up. I want, like I say, I have a lot of knowledge about this world, but I don't think the Lord wanted me because He seen my heart. He always tells me, use your heart knowledge, not your head knowledge. Because He says people are forever learning but never coming to the truth. You can learn a lot about this world, but if the world lies under the power of wicked, what will it avail to you much if you want to live for the Lord? What would loving or learning about the world complement in your life? See, when I live for the Lord, it says people with wealth are pierced with many sorrows and will fall away from faith. I used to be loving the things and conforming and not knowing. I think we all do that by default when we're into this world. We're all just following suit of everybody else before us. This is why I talk about curses in the familial lineage curses, the bondage, family betrayal, generational curses, ancestral curses. That's why I talk about all these things in my videos, because the Lord showed me they exist. And He also says, for they know not what they do. So I'm not saying everybody is intentionally toxin or destructive to their own well-being or to their, because this is the way I see it. It doesn't matter what race, creed, culture, or religion you're practicing. Religion's learned in a fallen world, but I know you love your family. I know you love their future. So this is my theorem on this. If we're doing the wrong thing or agreeing to darkness or evil, where's our children going to be saved? So you can't say you love your children if you're partaking in the unfruitful works of darkness. Because that means, like corrosion on a car, if there's a rusty spot, if you're not addressing it and you're just allowing it to grow or becoming a part of the corrosiveness, it's going to cover the whole area. So when everybody's doing the wrong thing, no one will be safe. When everything becomes questionable or everyone becomes questionable. I've lived a celibate and holy life. Am I arrogant about that? Absolutely not. Do you know it's easy to do the wrong thing in a fallen world? Broad is the way to destruction. Narrow is the gate to life. Many are called, few are chosen. So the gate is very narrow. So to take this call, I chose it. I chose free will. This is where you mourn, like the mourning in sackcloth that you go into when the Spirit of truth comes on you, because you really want people to be saved. You really see that they're an erroneous lifestyle or oppressive lifestyle. And like I tell people, the Holy Spirit won't have you planning or plotting the downfall of anybody. Never. And nor would the Lord require you to do that. He wouldn't say, hey, go set yourself on fire. He said, I gave you life. Live it abundantly. Just the variable lies in the difference of what I'm living for. I'm living, when you come to the cross, your values and your hopes and desires change. Um, you remove or omit the variables in your life that bring conflict. The ungodly soul ties kind of break off. You start being more confident. There's a difference between ego and confidence. You can have confidence in who you are and what you're deserving of without being hateful to another human being. But that doesn't mean you have to acquire a variable where you're allowing them to drain you or emotionally, mentally witchcraft you or be mean and vile to you. The Lord didn't say, hey, stand in front of this person, let him slice you to pieces. He says, come out from among them. Don't be unequally yoked. You can't drink the cup of devils and drink the cup of the Lord. Don't intermarry them. They'll have you worshiping their false gods. This is where I talk about demonically influenced behaviors. Since I've come to this cross, the removal of the stony heart, that comes through healing. And then once you heal, your emotions become more intact. And you'll start seeing the things that you missed before, the red flags, the things that you knew that no one told you or showed you because you became immune to those fires because you've seen them burning in your own lives. That's what a generational curse is. That's why it says your enemies will be of your own house. When you're the one breaking free from that curse and you're not operating in the same oppression or under that, like I tell people all the time, there was a curse in my family. I've had other people tell me that, but there's no curse that you can't be set free from. And that curse can come from familial bondage, like watching emotional, mental oppression, dysfunctional living. And then, a person will want to break free out of that, or they'll operate in the same manner. You can't tell your child, don't marry that person if you are that person. They're picking up the same attributes that you're learning. Children become what's poured into them. You can't tell them don't do that when you're showing them how. Don't be this person if you are that person. Don't marry that person when you're acting like that person. There's a spiritual aspect that goes with this, where they'll pick up different, like a child has the same gait or facial expressions of their paternal people, of their mother, the expressions, the language they use, just the food, just different things they pick up unknowingly. And so then they also pick up their behaviors become modified by that. That's not being hateful to examine and judge. So this is where I did when I come to the cross. It started making me look at the things that I knew were unhealthy for me, and that came through healing. Do I hate anybody? Absolutely not. I've forgiven people that probably will never be sorry, because who bears the burden of unforgiveness would be me. Because if we're no longer together, and even though they wounded me in part of my life, they're not thinking about me any longer. I'm carrying that water. So I'm like, that's when I told in my other video that, the Lord he took all these, like when he touched me, I seen my life pass before my eyes. And it was like a movie reel, like skits. And he's like, I'm taking all this from you. That's not yours to carry. That's what happened to you. That's not who you are. All that stuff, that lies were fed to you about your life and what you should be or shouldn't be, or people unmolding you or remolding you or giving you false identities, gaslighting, and all these things because they didn't know how to speak life to you. And I'm like, so now I know what I'm worthy of. I'm more precious than rubies. I'm bought for a price. I'm a child of the Most High God. And that's why I say, well, none of us are put here to suffer at each other's hands and destroy each other. It's not, hey, I love people. I'm not racist. I've had people even throw that card at me. I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that to me. I pray for everybody. I pray for this nation. I pray for people to be touched in the heart, to bring healing so that we can learn how to get along with each other as adults. We learn that in school. When we grow up, the hardening of the heart, the hatred that starts manifesting in our lives against different breeds, cultures, races. That's so trivial. I'm just saying, like, I'm at a point where I have brotherly love, and I love everybody. Because that's what the Lord told me I had to do. He told me if I loved everybody, everything else would fall into place or out of place for others. If you have love in your heart, love covers a multitude of sins. If you have love in your heart, it says even your enemies will be at peace with you. How can they fight someone that's not willing to fight? When you just don't easily anger, or you always just like, you kind of try to, you listen to understand, not to respond. And you're like, okay, present your case to me. Tell me what you feel. Tell me what you're thinking. And I'll tell you, I was thinking about this today when I was driving. I said, you know what? It says, whom the God of this world has blinded you from the truth. And I said to myself, I'm here to tell you the truth. And then you can decide if you want to believe it or not. I'm here to tell you the truth. And if it'll line up with it'll line up with a book that was written many, many years ago by different prophets, because I have visions and dreams. I'm here to reveal that truth to you and to give you an open opportunity to decide if you choose free will to take that into account. You get to decide. I'm not going to force anybody to believe something, but I have factual evidence to go along with what I say. And I'm not going to force it upon anybody, neither will the Lord. The Lord, that's why he talks about free will. He's not going to force you to trust in him, to believe in him, to know what you're worthy of, and know that we're all here to get along and not be warring and fighting with each other, hardening our hearts to each other. Because you know what? That's what's going to destroy this nation. Hatred. That's what's going to destroy us. And then if we all have operating in hatred and malice and discord, where's our children? What is our children? What's being poured into the next generation? If you love your children, you're going to act appropriately. You're going to teach them the right way to go, how to act, how to respect others, how to be kind, how not to be racist, and all these things that are developed in this fallen world that people can't let go of. And that's what the Lord put on me today when I was driving. He's like, I said, you know what, Father, I'm going to bear the truth to them, because I think he's going to raise up a people that have enough love in their heart to say it no matter what anybody thinks. And I think it's going to be so irrefutable that people are going to listen, because it's not I who speaks, it's him that speaks through me, because he'll use someone that has love in their heart. The Lord always tells me, don't harden your heart, and don't worry about your head knowledge. Worry about your heart knowledge, because your heart is what's going to save the world. Our hearts is what's going to save the world. Love. Love is what can, the Lord says, he can lift the curse off the land if we start loving each other. Because the curse exists because we operate in it, or under it, or through it. You see? The curse lies in oppression, hatred, discontention, malice. That's a heart that devises a wicked scheme. When we harden our heart to the love of other people and ourselves, we operate in malice by default. Oh, I don't care what they're doing. I don't got to worry about that. Ain't my problem. That's when, like they say, the love of many will go cold. Maybe by default, maybe because you think it's not your problem. But if you look on a grander scale, it's all of our problems. We all live here together. It's all of our problems. The Bible tells me that they worry about the next fashionable thing, materialistic stuff, rather than the state of their nation. We're all worrying about things that will not matter at the end of the day when it comes to loving our family and not betraying one another. Like I said about the enslavement to like materialistic stuff and things, where you're not spending quality time with your family, not being available to them to show them the right way to go. Everybody's shoving. There's just things the Word puts on me all the time. Where we're just falling away to our desires. The Lord calls them evil desires, because the lust of the flesh that's what he considered evil desires, because we're not supposed to love the world. Be content with what you have. And that's why I said I used to want a lot of things too, and I'm like, and there's things like I say, but now I'm like, you know what, I'll see things on the side of the road or something, people throw stuff, and I'm like, I always think about like the homeless people would need that, and how people just throw things away that are, it's not even really garbage. And I'm like, of course I'm not going to take it, because I don't want to hoard, or I don't want all that conflict in my life. I don't want all that stuff. I want to simplify, minimize my life. I don't want to bring more disorder in my life, And that's one way I can kind of tell when people are spiritually or emotionally or mentally oppressed, because you could tell how people keep their lives. And that's not being mean. That's called a righteous judgment. Wait a minute, there's something going on, because they can't keep things in order. Their life is in disorder, or they're disengaged or dismantling their own lives. They're betraying themselves. And I see this with people, like with lots of stuff. They'll be like, on my day off, I got to clean, I got to organize, I got to power, I got to do this. And I'm like, man, you're a slave to your stuff. Let it go. Get rid of it. You're enslaved to that stuff. Enjoy your life. Get rid of that stuff. And I think about this, like I'm thinking about people have to plan out their off days to take care of the things they're a slave to. That's not being happy. That doesn't bring joy to people. I don't think so. What about making a family day? Or, if you minimize your life, You have more time for things that matter. You know, that's where I'm at with all this. Like, do things that matter. Your memories and moments that are irreplaceable, and you can't buy them. You can't buy that stuff. You can't buy love. You can't replace a time or a moment with someone that means more to you than life itself. You can't do it.